Hello, Claudia. Claudia, I am so pleased to hear about your good news concerning the problems you've been having at home with the water, the roof, everything. So I am very pleased to hear that all of your problems are slowly being solved. I have to say, one of the worst types of problem that you can have, and I have to say I've had the same problem here over recent times, when something goes wrong with your house or the building you are living in. Maybe you share the building with other people. Perhaps there is a problem. Normally something structural. When we describe something as structural, we are saying that the building itself, something relating to the actual building, it is structural, something connected to the way in which the building has been constructed. Maybe there is a problem with part of the house. Perhaps one of the walls is starting to collapse. It does happen sometimes. A house can sometimes move on its own, especially if the ground beneath the house is loose. We call it subsidence. Subsidence is when the ground slowly sinks. And of course, if you have a house built on that piece of land and it starts to sink or subside, well, of course, the house will also sink and subside as well. It is a problem, especially in certain areas where mining or underground excavation has taken place. Quite often you will find that the ground will start to sink. Sometimes, of course, holes can appear as well. Huge holes might suddenly open up. We call them sinkholes. S-I-N-K, holes. Sinkholes. And they normally occur in areas where there has been a lot of underground digging.